An identical car here belonging to postgraduate student Bryan Kohberger. I spoke to one of Kohberger's neighbours here at his university accommodation in Pullman. He didn't want to go on camera but said he frequently saw Kohberger in the company of an Asian girl, often laughing and joking. On the night of the murder, he saw him right out here, acting normally.
A special report on the brutal murders of 4 students at the University of Idaho. And this is a really shocking case that is gripping the United States. Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Zana Knodel and Ethan Chapin were found stabbed to death in a student apartment in November. There is no apparent motive and many unanswered questions about exactly what happened. The suspect is Bryan Kohberger, a PhD criminology student who denies any involvement in the murders. Now, he appeared in court today when more details emerged about the victims and the circumstances surrounding the crime. But as the campus reopens after the Christmas break and students mourn the victims, much of it still remains a real mystery, as our US correspondent Dan Rivers now reports.
It is a case which has captivated and horrified the United States. A nation trying to fathom whether this man, Bryan Kohberger, stabbed to death 4 students as they slept at a university in Idaho. Many left with one simple question: why? The victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin and Zana Knodel, were in their student house in the small town of Moscow when they were violently attacked just after 4 a.m. on the 13th of November. Social media videos portray a bubbly group of girls enjoying student life in the house where they were later killed. Among those returning to the campus this week, Ethan Chapin's siblings. The family released this childhood photo of the triplets, 2 of whom are now mourning their murdered brother. The killings have touched everyone here.
It was just scary. I've never had something like that happen so close to me, and I think that it just really affected the community. And yeah, it doesn't seem real. It's just like you hear about this stuff on TV and you see it on like crime shows and stuff, and it's just like when it's so close, it's crazy.
It was very shocking to hear something like this happening because you always feel so safe on campus and you feel like, you can go do anything at night and it's not anything you have to worry about. So it definitely was an adjustment to hear that something like this had happened.
The precise sequence of events that November night is still shrouded in mystery. Why it took so long for the other housemates to call the police isn't clear, and neither is the motive for the stabbing of 4 young students who apparently had no known connection with Bryan Kohberger. It took the 2 female survivors 6 hours to call the police. Law professor Samuel Newton says they might have been paralysed with fear.
It's very easy to go back and second guess and say, this was a homicide, there were 4 people killed, you should have been calling right then. And I think it's a mistake to jump in and begin shaming somebody for not calling the police and I'm sure this person is very traumatized at the moment after having gone through all of that.
2 of the victims, Ethan Chapin and Zana Knodel, had spent the evening before the killings at a nearby fraternity house. The other 2 victims, Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogen, were at this bar, later seen at a food truck, arriving home at 2 a.m. Court documents show the 2 surviving female housemates thought they heard Kaylee playing with her dog, a pet which featured prominently in her videos. This camera near the house recorded sounds of a disturbance. Court documents say voices or a whimper were heard, followed by a loud thud at 4:17 a.m. One of the survivors even caught a glimpse of a man in the house, noting his bushy eyebrows and tall athletic build as he walked past her to this back door. Police initially hunted for a white Hyundai spotted fleeing the murder scene at high speed. They finally found an identical car here belonging to postgraduate student Bryan Kohberger. I spoke to one of Kohberger's neighbours here at his university accommodation in Pullman. He didn't want to go on camera but said he frequently saw Kohberger in the company of an Asian girl, often laughing and joking. On the night of the murder, he saw him right out here, acting normally. Analysis of mobile mast data showed Kohberger's phone was turned off around the time of the killings. It also showed he'd driven past the house late at night repeatedly. A car matching Kohberger's was spotted 4 times, loitering around the murder scene for 51 minutes before heading off at high speed. It was then picked up on these back roads, again by cameras, heading towards Pullman, where he lived. Just over a month after the murders, Kohberger and his father were briefly stopped by traffic police in Indiana while driving 2,500 miles across America.
I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where?
They were unaware the FBI was closing in, going through rubbish at the family home in Pennsylvania, looking for DNA samples to match cells found on a knife sheath like this left at the murder scene. Finally, the police swooped, sure they had enough proof. This is Kohberger's father cleaning up smashed glass after the dramatic raid to arrest his son. For the students working on the university newspaper, this has been a challenging 2 months.
A lot of people are ready to just kind of be able to grieve in private, especially now that it's less of a crime story. They've apprehended a suspect. They've taken it into formal trial. It gives them and it gives students some more space regarding just kind of processing this.
Shannon Gray is a lawyer representing Kaylee Gonsalvez's parents.
Christy kind of can go down a rabbit hole and start thinking about the night in question and how the things when different information comes out. Steve's trying to be the rock for her, and then when Steve goes down, Christy becomes the rock. So they're playing off of each other. They're a strong family, and they'll get through this. So,
In terms of sentence, what are they seeking?
they're seeking the death penalty.
It may be many more months before the trial, and still 2 central elements are missing: the murder weapon and the motive, both compounding the mystery of why these 4 young lives were taken with such violence by a suspect none of them knew. Kohberger's neighbours here at his university accommodation in Pullman. He didn't want to go on camera, but said he frequently saw Kohberger in the company of an Asian girl, often laughing and joking. On the night of the murder, he saw him right out here, acting normally.
Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, viewers, for your support, for your patience. I've been down with the flu, trying to recover now. But I just have to come back to this case because we still need justice for these victims. I find this interesting that someone saw Kohberger, who lives in the neighborhood, with an Asian friend of his, and he was laughing and he was acting normal. What does normal mean? Does it mean that he was just having a good time with his friend and he had nothing to do with these murders? Or could it be that he's just such a excellent actor? It has to be one of the two, which I find it to be difficult for someone to be on his way to unlive 4 people, wouldn't be just acting so normal and having a laugh with a friend and all. I hope this witness is subpoenaed to testify. And I hope the Asian friend, female friend of Christopher Kohberger, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, is forced to testify. Because she could have been his alibi. She could have been his alibi for earlier on in the evening. But where was Kohberger within the hours of the murder is obviously an important question. My concern is that Kohberger could actually be involved in the quadruple murders, but maybe he didn't do this by himself. So it'd be a shame if one person goes down for a quadruple murder that possibly 6, 7 people or 4 people or even 2 people could have been involved. And now we have the situation of the house going to be demolished by the end of this month. Isn't it a coincidence that they're going to demolish the house on the 28th of December, exactly a year after Bryan Christopher Kohberger was arrested? The Chapin family, Eaton, his mother and father, are actually for demolishing the house. And that raises alarms. As a parent, I assume every parent would want the correct justice for their children. Not any kind of justice. You just don't leave it to the police to do their job, because obviously the police are there to do their job. But the police are human beings like us. What if the job isn't done correctly? What if they've got the wrong guy? I just find it a bit odd that Eaton, his family, haven't been participating much in getting justice, getting the correct justice. That's the term I use, correct justice. It's not about just getting justice. Anyone can get justice for anything. But the question is, are you getting the correct justice or not? Please like, share and subscribe. Leave your comments in the channel. Bye.